Hello, everyone. My name is Johnny, and together we are with Elson and Colin. Today, we're gonna talk about reNFT. reNFT is a NFT rental platform, and it's really new, and it's like a new area that people are pulling money in. Today, Lag Studio is gonna introduce a little bit of the reNFT, and we're gonna talk about it, discuss like what would make it successful and what kind of technology they are using. This is reNFT. This is their platform. As you can see, you can rent out your NFT, or you can lend your NFT. How it works is that you would just click on one and click rent now, and then you will set the some kind of parameter, for example, how long you're gonna rent and how much money you're gonna put into. From now, we can see that there's only about 9 pages of the NFT on the platform, which is like not a lot, to be honest. But we will imagine as the market become bigger, this platform will become more useful and attract more traction.
Oh, I think that's a very great introduction page. Thank you. And I think this page really do elaborates what the reNFT does. But I think a lot of audience that's maybe watching this video right now must have questions about, okay, this is probably a platform that allows people to rent and lend NFTs, and which are probably stuff and pictures that they can see on OpenSea or people sharing on their social media. But I think a lot of audience must have the question that why do we need to rent NFTs, and what could it benefit me from? And I think I think I watched Elson's previous video going through reNFT, and I think he did some extensive research about it. So maybe we can have Elson maybe sharing with us that why do people need to rent and lend these NFTs, and what's the future possibility that this can unlock for us?
Yeah, so I'm sure that all three of us do believe that NFT can produce far more utility than it currently does in the future, right? Like we do think that it's something that can link real world assets. It can represent more type of assets than it currently does. But even as of now, there are a lot of utilities that the NFT assets do provide on top of just being like a overpriced JPEG or your profile picture, right? So yeah, like even so, let's say for the Bored Ape Club, so technically, let's just start first. If you really were to just rent out like a overpriced JPEG or a Bored Ape Club, right? That's still one of the use cases, because that would kind of, if the Bored Ape Club had like a private club event and only the owners or the holders could attend, then you would possibly want to rent one over the weekend or over the event, instead of having to pay, like, I think right now the floor price is 200K.
Yeah, around 70-40 at least.
Yeah. So like that's really, really expensive for you to go to an event, right? But if you could rent it for a short amount of time, then that would be one of the use cases. Yeah, like as the reNFT website does point out, there's like the gaming part is definitely one of the more mature markets right there. So a lot of the play-to-earn games, you have to have like assets, characters, cosmetics for you to achieve different like stages in the game, right? And a lot of the times those assets could be a few $100s, a few ETH, so expensive. But if you don't have that type of money, you might kind of choose the solution to rent one of the assets for a short amount of time once you progress. And then what they usually do is like they present a revenue sharing model. So you don't have to pay that much in terms of rental, but you share you share part of your income with the lender. That's also a way for people who are playing the game as like a full-time job to earn money while not having to spend money first. And of course, like I think metaverse and domains are like the other two use case scenarios. I think metaverse is rather simple. Like you could just imagine it as like in real world, you had like a piece of real estate then the rental scenarios would be rather obvious, right? You would want it to rent it out to a tenant, probably rent it out to like an event coordinated in the
or a
um,
concert, things like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Like if you wanted to host a concert, then definitely you probably would rent out your land. But like there are a few $1 million right now. Like I believe
Yeah,
last
I've
month there
seen.
was one for like 4 million, something like that.
Yeah, in
That's
Sandbox and
crazy.
Decentraland. Yeah, a couple.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, I
think
found
it
an
was.
article here that
Yes.
says about the different use cases. One of them I think really interesting is like is for people to flex. It's like showing
It
that
is.
I'm one of the Bored App holder
Club.
or one of
Yeah.
the CryptoPunk holder. But
Mhm.
I mean, it's just a variety of different use cases, and I think it's really interesting. And as like NFT goes like go mainstream, the utility behind it become very important because, for example, if you hold one of the NFT and it provides you the access to the concert or it provides you the tickets to the play to earn gaming, that's the how that NFT becomes valuable, and then how this kind of platform will become more popular because people might not actually want to own the NFT for a long term, but they might want to play some kind of games in a
Exactly.
short term. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think we're just beginning to see a lot and a lot more creators and development teams that's introducing more utilities into this, into various of NFTs. And one of the story that I just heard, uh, so so what we usually think that PFP NFTs, those like CryptoPunk or 48 Club, if I rent them, is usually for short-term flex or I'm joining a private party. But on the other case, we heard a recent story that uh, a lender rented a Doodle, and the Doodle is a well-known NFT community in the NFT section space, and they are well known as their diamond hands, that they hold good NFT projects that they don't sell easily, and for that, other projects starts to give out a lot of whitelist to Doodle communities, and so hence there is actually more utilities by renting a profile picture, because that can gives you maybe certain whitelist for certain projects within a day or two. So it's lovely to see that communities and creators are trying to put in more utilities into this type of profile picture JPEGs. But I think it's more interesting, like Johnny and Elson said, that we'll be looking at more game related scenarios, which it'll be used, which will unlock more and more utility. Probably, I think all of us heard about Axie Infinity last year had a big rental spike in the
The
Southeast
scholarship
Asia.
program. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody could jump in on that and share a little bit for us.
Yeah, I
Johnny,
can.
did you
Yeah.
play? Yeah, you played, right?
Yeah, I played last summer, and
Uh-huh.
I actually just like accidentally bumped into this program like Axie Infinity, and I found it like fascinating. Like people are playing like crazy because part of the success is based on their tokenomics design, right? Breeding and competing with different gamers, stuff like that. And they came out with a really interesting concept called the scholarship program, which means that for people in Southeast Asia primarily that don't have the money to actually buy one of the XE, they can get the XE from some top players, and then they will play for those players, and then they will share the profit. So it's like a win-win situation. Those people in Southeast Asia, they make money by competing in on the XE Infinity, and those like people who rent out their XE also benefit because it's like
They
they are
hold the
playing for
asset.
that. Yeah.
They hold the asset.
and
They're
and
making
I
the
think
premium.
this concept kind of just like
Mind
replicated
blowing
by different platform, and it's
games.
really really like mind blowing. I
It's
really like this concept.
I
Yeah.
actually saw in the like metaverse about like um a construction company or a development company of virtual real estate. So it's actually like a full-on real estate firm. Like in the real world, the real estate firm will probably be structured that you have like a operations department that helps you with property management and like a renovation construction part. So in the virtual real estate, they actually have like a development part, construction department that helps them design. So like in the virtual world, you don't actually have to build with brick and mortar, but like by building, you need to probably do like modeling. So you probably need those 3D
Yeah.
modeling skills. Yeah, that's the construction part of it. And then of course the rental part it will be just renting out the event spaces based on the design to different clients. It's already really similar to what you would see in the actual world. So like I think this primitive function of rental, it sounds so intuitive, right? Like you rented out an apartment or in real life, but right now it's just starting in the virtual world. You could see these type of functions coming up, and then you could see people getting jobs by playing games. So I think like the boundary between the virtual world and real world is kind of getting blurred with these type of new technologies.
Yeah, I think this really is the new area for us.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I can imagine that maybe my home setup, my metaverse home setup could be a dozen of different templates that I can just change the setting every day, and maybe I don't own them. I just rent a different one so I can work in a different environment. I think working here feel pretty nice, and so maybe in the future I can maybe work in the forest, maybe working in the desert and stuff. So this is really uh, I think this concept is really amazing. And
If you go down the real estate route, there's like so many things that you can actually think about. And some of the solutions are being developed, but like there's just so many other plays, right? Like refinance, mortgage. I think there's some solutions out there that kind of does that for NFTs already, that kind of provides a liquidity for it, right? So I think like renting is one of the functions that does provide liquidity. But right now, some people are using like fractionalized NFTs to provide further liquidity, or like staking in a pool and giving you tokens. There's just like different ways people are experimenting so that all the money locked inside the NFT in the past half year can be unlocked in some way. Yeah.
Going back to this platform, reNFT, what kind of like factor would you think that would make this kind of platform more successful? I think one of them is being the overall market of the NFT. Now of course, like since the end of last year till now, like NFT market has become really popular, but this platform is just starting. Do you think that the NFT market itself have to be popular so that this kind of platform can be more successful?
I think like it does go hand in hand. Like of course, with the NFT market being more successful, there are more scenarios for you to be incentivized, right? Because we just listed it out. There was like the PFP market, there's the gaming and all of that. Those are all kind of subcategories of the NFT market space. If the NFT market space as a whole is successful, definitely then the rental function or this platform would be successful. But I think like even in the scenario where the NFT market, let's say the PFP space, isn't as great in a bear market, right now I do think like the GameFi space is somewhat stable. Like there are really good games with huge communities. I think even in the bear market, we'll have the X amount of players that will stay on the platform because it is their kind of main source of living, right? So even in that scenario, I think it will hold at least some type of volume, but definitely if the whole thing wants to be successful, it would need like a lot of collaboration, a lot of projects working together to kind of, I don't think right now like NFT rentals is something that everyone in the space knows about, right? So educating
Yeah.
the user, I think that's a big thing that the projects in the space probably have to work together to do.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think this actually brought up a great point since we were also talking about how different platforms are approaching renting NFT in different ways. And I believe there's a project that's only currently working with one game. And that is because for the NFT rental projects to work with the game, they have to have open APIs with each other. And that could be the case for maybe future protocols that they have to individually sign contracts or maybe have an agreement with every game. Is that the case, or is that the best solution that we have, or are there any other solutions?
Yeah, I think as of now, for reNFT specifically, they use like a SDK. So they're kind of a basic function, right? Requires you to have a collateral in order for you to rent something. And the collateral has to be higher or actually equal to the amount of the NFT's market value, right?
Yeah,
That's
but when
because they use kind of like an escrow, right?
when I was a child, I used to rent DVDs from my corner's DVD store. But I think a lot of times I just fell in love with the show and I think, okay, never mind, I'll just keep them. And I
Yeah,
never go
exactly.
back to get my collector back. So I think, is that gonna be the same problem that reNFT gonna face?
I think the good part about the decentralized world is that a lot of them, they have the kind of assumption that everything has to be executed in a trustless environment, right? So that's why they kind of built an escrow, a vault, and they introduced collateral into the smart contracts. Everything is kind of enforced by code, right? So in the smart contract, they say that, hey, if you don't return it, your collateral will be given back to the owner. But even in that situation, right, like if the NFT was like a really good NFT or like a really rare NFT, people probably would just give up their collateral, even though it may be a high amount for the NFT and just not give it back, right? So like I think they did think about this and kind of like the step backs. I personally do not think that this is the best solution, but their take on this was they introduced like a SDK so that if you are a platform, you are a game that has utility on top of ownership of these NFT assets, you could kind of incorporate that into your platform, your game, so that they can just transfer the utility rights, but not transfer the ownership rights. I think this is one way to get around it, but it would require like a lot of business development, or you just get famous so that everyone kind of starts adopting your solution. Either way, I think that there are other solutions or other ways that you could kind of implement rental without collateral, of course.
I believe one of the way might be just provide insurance.
Oh, I never thought of that. But I think that could be maybe a third party coming in with a certain way.
Yeah, I know.
a
Yeah,
sort
I
of-
know. There's already be people doing like. So I don't know about there's insurance on NFT, but they might be
Maybe,
a concept.
yeah,
Because
maybe.
yeah, in terms of how this platform will grow, the only thing I can think of they being able to make money is more people be on the platform. Otherwise, they'll just be slowing dying out. That's my opinion, but it's kind of true, I think.
Of
I
course,
think
of
like
course.
yeah, the other ways that there are like other rental platforms out there. Some of them collateral free.
I want to rent something, but you have to put an equal amount of money or even more money. That's very hard to do for most renters. I can't, let's say if I'm in the real world, I can't rent a house and pay you $1 million as a collateral. That's just not possible. I can pay you
Exactly. Why not
5,000.
just buy the house, right?
Why not just buy the house? I can pay you
Yeah.
Right.
5,000 as a deposit. That's the maximum I can do. You can't ask me for $1 million. Why am I renting it? But I think Elson was about to present to us about a few collateral-free options.
Yeah, so like I think there's a platform called IQ Space. What they do is that they do collateral free, not through like game integration or releasing their SDKs to allow collaboration. They do it through like duplicating a wrapped NFT. So what that means is it's similar to how like bridges, token bridges are done. It's just like an NFT bridge, right? So they basically say, hey, I have this original NFT over here, and I duplicate NFT that matches to all of the attributes or metadata of your existing NFT. Instead of giving you the actual NFT, I give you like a duplicate one that will expire in, let's say, a month, right? So that's kind of their take on it. You could actually sell the remaining amount of the lease period. So the duplicate NFT, you could trade that on the secondary market too. So it's kind of like a lease that you can trade around that has the same attributes of the original NFT. But I think the problem with this solution is that because you're minting duplicates and you can even like divide these duplicates, so it does require like higher mint fee, gas fees. So it's not that efficient. I do know, like me personally, I think YGG and a company called Double, they're trying to introduce a new standard that everyone can kind of build upon. I believe it's the EIP 2615 standard. They want to essentially add new roles into the NFT so that you could just directly divide the ownership rights and the usage rights with the standard and being compatible with the ERC 721 standard. I think like if this does get implemented or is recognized by the NFT rental community, it'll open up much more possibilities to kind of seamlessly allow people to rent without having to pay like a high amount of collateral, or without having the people who are kind of trying to build the rental business, having to business develop every enterprise, every platform that they want to work with.
I'm just trying to get my head straight. I think this is a lot of information. So, so we think saying there are protocols that can help us to wrap, like duplicate an NFT, but with a timestamp that those duplicated NFTs will be expired at a certain time, and that's a way of renting NFT. And the problem, however, the problem with it is I probably have to pay quite some gas fee just to get a JPEG, just to get an NFT for a month. Okay, and then I also heard that there could be another way that somebody is working on a new standard. YGG is working on a new standard, and this new standard, if it's implemented with all game developers, then they will have we will have a common ground that we can be leasing and renting NFT or in-game assets through this standard. But so the difficulty would be asking all the developers and game studios to be joining in onto this protocol that we build on one protocol together. So is that how this is gonna work out?
Yeah, I think like it's trying to get the community to. So I think in the end, these kind of standards pass because they have enough traction, right? So enough people think that, hey, first of all, this EIP is well written in terms of smart contract code. Second of all, the use case is something that we think the whole community kind of needs, right? If these two if these two assumptions could be met, then I think if the EIP standard will gain enough traction for it to pass into like a ERC standard. That's probably the best way. I think like there's a universal solution, right? Right now, all of the solutions are not really universal. They're kind of all tied to a platform or tied to a game. I really do hope to see like there's a one universal solution so that everyone can use this universal solution to build different types of rentals.
So I think to summarize what we have discussed today, the project that we've been introducing to the audience today will be reNFT, and it is one of the NFT rental platforms that allows people to put in a collateral and rent NFT for a period of time. However, there are several other platforms or protocols on the market that can help with the similar problems, yet none of them is very mature. As we can see, the NFT rental market will definitely be a very big market in the next 10 to 20 years. And the reason why we want to talk about this project and this environment today is that we think this is a very potential area for people to look into, and there must be a lot of great opportunity in the future to come. And so is there any I hope that's a okay summarization. And if you guys want to add in, that would be fine. And maybe add in some of your wildest imagination. That's what NFT rental in the future could bring to us. And yeah.
I really want to see the NFT rental function to kind of prosper, because in terms of producing cash flow in real estate, in real life, cash flow is somewhat important to determine the asset value, right? I know that there are a lot of platforms out there that use machine learning and AI that kind of crawls the different marketplaces like OpenSea, Rarible for the market prices of the NFTs. That's how they define the actual value of these assets. But if you were to add a variable or add a parameter of how much cash flow it could earn during a period of time, I definitely, Johnny, would agree on this, right? Like with the cash flow analysis, or with the cash flow kind of variable, you could have a better idea of what is the actual value that you're holding, right? Of course, like different to
Yeah.
real estate, there's like cap rates and stuff like that. That's probably something that would need the market to kind of agree on based on different type of assets. But I think cash flow has always been something that's really important when you're defining asset values in the real world. So I think rental will be one of the ways that could allow us to kind of examine this parameter.
The concept that applies to all the financial instrument in the financial market, right? For example, the equity market, we can use option to gauge the pricing, and with different kinds of derivatives to define what's the actual value of the actual asset. So similar concept applies here. You can have the NFT rental. Through the rental mechanism, you can kind of know what kind of actual value this NFT can provide. So I believe that this might be somewhere that will be growing very fast in the next couple of years. Lag Studio is very interesting in all kinds of projects surrounding in Web3, GameFi, and NFT space. So stay tuned. Whoever likes this kind of topics, please remember to subscribe and follow us on YouTube and Twitter.
Yeah.
All right.
Next
Thanks,
All
time.
right, thank you.
guys.